5:30, right? That's our start time. Uvla lotak jukvan kweje shalaknai. I hope you all had a good evening of rest. Good morning to everyone. I hope you enjoyed a small mountain of berries this morning and melons. We are at 8:30, and so we're gonna launch our day 2. I know that first day was a really long day, and at the end of it, we had a small group of us that we're calling this place now Wood Center. Traje. Tra is wood, Je is house. So Traje. So we had a small group of us that closed down the Traje last night. So yeah. And what I would like to do to open up this morning is invite up Mary Huntington to open us up with a drum song, because I think it's always great to hear the sound of the drum to open us up each morning. So Mary.
Uvlalatak. For those of you that weren't here last night, we all did a bunch of dancing and drumming for those that stuck around, and the Inupiaq crew who were here, we did a couple of welcome dances and then some motion dances, and then closed all together with some more common dances. If you're unfamiliar, it's really for you to dance as you feel called, as you are moved to dance, but there are some basic guidelines to help you out. So for women, and then for men,
Uvlalotak. Just a few announcements to get us going into the day here on the program schedule. So yesterday was a real long day, and people really held it together and participated and engaged deeply, and that's much appreciated. We're looking forward to much the same today. However, I do need you to take out your little booklets. There are some key changes that you need to know about for today. And I'll make this announcement here, and then I'll make it again before we break for the breakout session so people have an opportunity to make sure that we understand the changes. So page 9 is the first change that for clarity here. There's been a misprint on the bottom of page 9, the very last session of page 9, where it says Brian Miracle is the presenter. That's Jeremy Green. Same room, same session. Correct presenter is Jeremy Green. Okay, and so there is a change in today's schedule in terms of sessions that are being offered. You're going to need to swap 2 sessions between Tuesday and Thursday. So however you make a note in your program there is going to be important. So today at 3 o'clock, Brian Miracle is doing a presentation in the CEM Design Theater, but it is the presentation from Thursday at 8:30. So in my pamphlet, I made a note to swap Thursday at 8:30 with today at 3 o'clock. He has a certain order that he is presenting in, these 4 topics, so we're trying to get them back in alignment with the original order he intended. So Thursday's session is his actual first session. That one is session, on Thursday, the session that is his first session is session will be focused on the use of root words in second language instruction. That's the session that's happening today at 3. And what that means is Thursday's session is the 4th one. You can just swap those 2, okay? And then tomorrow morning, we'll walk you through the second swap of his sessions to make sure they're offered in the correct order. I'll make this announcement again at the end so that people are clear and can access the sessions they really intended to access. Real quickly. Okay. Come on up. Where is it at? Okay. Oh, that is yours. Another print error here that was not caught before printing. I've always known this is Kiki's session. So on Thursday at 10:30 a.m., that's Kiki's session. That's her area of knowledge and expertise that she's bringing to our institute. Thursday at page 9, the 10:30 session. Again, it looks like that last session had a couple of errors with presenters. So instead of Larry, it's Keiki. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then we had a number of observers join us yesterday, and I wanted to let you know that later on this morning, you can head out to the information desk. They're not there at this moment, but they will be later. And if you were an observer who only got the pamphlet yesterday, we do have name tags for you at the front desk and bags for you with all of the rest of the Institute materials. So walk-on observers yesterday, you can find your materials out here at the front desk later on this morning. And I think that's it for the details of the morning.
Hey. Sullivan deserves a round of applause every time. She's doing so much work, great work, pulling all of this together. So at this time, it's a pleasure to welcome up to the stage Keiki, who's going to open up the panel on visioning from the College of Hawaiian Language. So Keiki, I'd invite you up. And I think she's going to introduce a video that we're going to watch, and afterwards I'll invite up all the panelists for the conversation.
Ai aloha kakahiaka. Good morning, everybody. We brought actually a bunch of videos because it's really much easier to get your head around what those ideas are when you can see what they look like as well. So this, can you hear me okay? All right. So this video is about a 15-minute video of a very old film at the beginning of our movement, but it'll give you a little bit of background of that whole beginning momentum in revitalizing Olelo Hawaii. It's our precursor.
Pehea ina hau mana me nā kumu pehea makaukau okou. Ai. E olu olu okou. Pai lima no nā keihi a me nā kumu o ka pūnana leo o Honolulu. Pūnana leo, ka wai hao.
Pūnana leo o Wai'anae.
Eo. Kula kaya puni o Nana Kuli. Kula kaya puni o Ku'ohala. Kula kaya puni o Waiau, Papa Malao. Kula kaya puni o Anue Nue. Nana o koe kia mau pua kamali'i au e nani nui lako e hau oli huka nui e. Huka haaheo loko o kako a pau.
He moe moe āwale no ka mana o e hiki mai ka wā, he mau haneli ana hau mana I wali ka olelo Hawaii a lako. He moe moe ana ke kahi po e kumua o me ka mana leo. I ako kua makahome o ke kahi hoaloha makaua I ka mahina o Ianuali makahiki umi kumaiwa kanawalu kumakolu. E kuka I ke kahi mana o nui o ke koi koi.
Ia manawa no, ho mata I ni nau pehea olelo Hawaii. Pehea olelo Hawaii.
Kua mamua uolo ia ka kau ke lano mea.
Ai, olo.
A ole no I lohe nui ia ka olelo Hawaii. O ka hapa nui o ka poe olelo Hawaii, o ia ka poe kupuna, me ka poe noni I hau.
Ai, tira mea maora, tira na.
Ai o anakala ma ke ele makule mai nei, ke pau mai nei, no laila. Puka ka manao. Aloha no ka kako olelo Hawaii, ke pau nei. A o he lava ka mako a o ana.
Ma ka kule nui, a oli loa na haumana, I lilo ana I poe wala au, I poe kama I lio. Li ili ka poe heli waho hiki ki wala au, hiki ki kama I lio.
No laila, o holo ia ka manao, hele kako I ka wai. Noho, no ke kai maula, no ka halawai ana. Lu no ke ia po o manao. He haka kako e hanai, no ka hoi ke ka hou ana I ka olelo.
Waha ia kula ka kako olelo makuahine. He olelo ola ae oia noho ia I ka pau ana o ke la kene kulia kune. Ma hope o ka hiki ana mai o nā miki o nali, I ka paa ana o ka olelo he olelo kākau. Ua mohala li ia e la nui ka mo o kala leo Hawaii kākau. Ua hookumu ia maila he hookahi hanelia o I hui pa inu pepa, nā nei pa I nā ano mo olelo like ole ma ka olelo Hawaii. No ka aina nei, a me nā aina ea e puke kahi. Ua o ia nā ano haawina kula like ole a pau ma o ka olelo Hawaii. Mai ka hoi ke honua, a hiki ka makemakika. I ka hapalua like o ke kenikulia umi kumaiwa, ua o ia ku ka pākeneka o nā Hawaii I ke kākau ana ma mua o ka nui o kona aina e. Waha ia kula ka kākou olelo makuahine. I ka makahiki umi kumawalu ka naiwa kumaono, ua ho'oholo ia he kāna wai e ke kahi po e pā oihana he haole ka nui, nāna I ho'okahuri ke au puni mo I e kolu makahiki māmua, me ke kukulu pū I kā lākou le pupalika o Hawaii. Wahia kā lākou kāna wai. O ko olelo pelekania ke kaia puni a me ke kahua o ke ao ana ma nā kula au puni a me nā kula ku oko a pau. Nā ia hopuna olelo I pani a paa nā kula olelo Hawaii a pau me ko ho'o nā wali puaku I ko olelo me ka mo'o meheu oiwi o ka aina nei.
Ku wane ili ia an hiki mako ke olelo Hawaii ke kula. Ua papa ia mai. Nei olelo oe kahi ua olelo I ke kula ho pai I ana oe. Ne hana ho, e lahau la. He mamai ke lanima, hili ia ka lima.
Ua make mako e hoi hou ia ko olelo Hawaii I loko o ka home. A ka pehea e ho'o maka ai ke ia manao mua. Maka ho'o kumu ana I kula kamali'i. E lohe ia ai ka olelo Hawaii wale no ma leila. No laila, e no ia ke I manao no ka puna na leo.
O ka manao ka inoa o puna na leo, o ia hoi, he puna na olelo. He unuhi ia I ka inoa Māori, o ia hoi o ko hangareo, ka inoa o nā kula kamali'i ka ia puni Māori o Aotearoa.
Ina no mako e pili ana ke rahua olelo punana. He punana no na manu. A malama ia ka manu a hiki ka ikaika ana o nā pepe a hiki ke lele. E like mea mako.
Pu'a lako I ka mea ai I loko ka waha o ka punua ka manu pepe. Like me ka pu'a ana ke kanaka ma moa I loko ka waha pepe. O ke la manao no ka punana, kahi e malama ai ke I mau punua. Kahi e hanai e pu'a ai ka olelo I loko ko lako pepe iau.
Pai holu. A ole mako I mau popo I nā e mai kai ana no. E hui a laila e olelo ke kai hiki ke hana. Nā kako e hana.
Wa o mako o pe a oe kala. O, pona kukulu ke kai kula. E hia kala. A ole nanai. Ki kala. I ini nui e he ho'ola ia ko olelo. A ole I nana ia.
Ua ho'okumu pu ia ka aha puna na leo, he aha ho'ona au au kui ka au hau ole, nā ana e ho'omalu I nā kula puna na leo, a me nā hana e pili ana I ka ho'oikaika olelo Hawaii. I ka makahiki umi kumaiwa ka nawalu kumaha, ua wehe ia ke kula kamali I mua loa ma ke kaha kauae, a I ke kupu lau o ke kahi makahiki mai, ua wehe ia mai la he kula hou ma Honolulu a me Hilo. Ua nui ino na ake akea.
Ke la mana ale mako kou. Ko me a ohe poe mako kou. Ke a o ana pehea e a oe ka olelo I na kamali'i. Ma leila no a ohe mea e a o aku ai.
Aia manawa hokahi ua homaka ia na punana leo. A ua ike a kula mako o ka punana leo ke kahi mea e ku e ana ki kānawai.
E mau ana noho I ke ku o ke kānawai kahiko, e pāpā ana I ka olelo Hawaii ma ke kula, I loko no ko ho'oholo ia o ke kahi kānawai ka makahiki umi kumaiwa ka nahiku kumawalu, o ka olelo Hawaii ke kahi o nā olelo kuhelu e lua o ka moku aina.
Ono e holo I ka pai mua I ke la kānawai ma mua ka ai ana I ke ia ano kula e malama ia.
Ka mau ko mako hele ani ka aha olelo e kolu makahiki ai hope loa ua puka no ka punana leo na kula, au puni a me na kula ku o koa.
I ka makahiki umi kumaiwa ka nawalu kumahiku, ho'okoma hou ia kula ka olelo Hawaii ma nā kula au puni, ma ka wehe ia ana e o nā papa ka ia puni mua ma nā kula haa. Aia ma puna Hawaii ke kula o nā wahi o kalani opu. O ia ke kula waena me ke kula ki e kaia puni mua o Hawaii nei ia puni I loko o kahi haneli a oi makahiki.
Ke olelo kako I ka olelo Hawaii. Olelo mau na makua me na kupuna. No na kupuna I hala. hiki lako ke lohe mako e olelo nei. Ke haoli nei lako I ka lohe ana mako leo makamai.
I ka makahiki ʻumikūmāiwa kanaiwa kūmālima, ua hoʻokumu ia ma pālolo ke kula kaia puni mua o Hawaiʻi nei. E pau ana maloko ke kula hoʻokahi, nā papa pau mai ka malāʻo a hiki loa ai ka papa ʻumikūmālua.
He piha, ka hoʻokahi, kaukani, a oi ki a e paha. Hau mana e a'o nei ma o ka ola Hawaiʻi, mana kula.
Ma o ka hoʻoikaika ʻano ka ahapunana leo, ua lilo o Hawaiʻi nei, o ia ke kumu hoʻohālike o ka hoʻonaʻau wā ma o ka ʻōlelo o iwi, no Amelika huipu ia no a puni. Aia ma ke kula ni I hau o ke kaha kauaʻi nā keiki me nā kumu no ni I hau mai ka ohana. Kahi hoʻokahi o ka honua nei e mau nei ka ʻōlelo Hawaiʻi, o ia ka ʻōlelo mua nā poʻe a pau.
Tāna otu kati, tāi kati, a hai me ke tahi ʻōlelo ni iri e piriti au ai nei.
E ia no ka hoi, a no iho nei no, ua koi ia ke ao ia ano kamaliʻi ma ka ʻōlelo haole wale no.
So ino mane.
I ko ke ena hoʻonaʻau wā hoʻole ana I ke noi a nā mākua ni I hau, e komo ka ʻōlelo Hawaiʻi ke kula, ua ku e nā mākua. A ua wehe a kula I ka lākou kula pono I iho no, ma ke kahi pāka no ka lehulehu a kea. Ma hope, ua hoʻololi ia maila ke kule kele, a hoʻokumu ia kula ke kula no nā keiki ni I hau, me ke kōkua o ka punana leo, a me ke ena kule ana Hawaiʻi.
Ite au te iti tau toa na keiti tia manawa. A hau ori rākou, ale rākou mama te hauri te kula, ale me te rā māmua. Ha heo rākou I ta rākou hana, na me a o ia rākou ma ta rākou orero pono I no. Ai te kātu orero to kātu noho anu.
Ke a'o mākou I nā keiki, a'o mākou na ano, na au Hawaiʻi me na waiwai Hawaiʻi I loka o ka ʻōlelo Hawaiʻi. O ia ka mea o koʻa, ke kahi o nā mea o koʻa. E pili ana ke anu kula punana leo.
Manawa o ka mea nui, oia no haʻaheo ke keiki. Hiki ke ike I ko lākou maka, I ko lākou helehelena, I ko lākou hana. A hiki I nā poʻe Hawaiʻi a pau ke holomua. Ma nā ano like ole, nā ʻoihana, ma ke kula, ma ke aupuni, ma ke kai ulu. ʻAʻole ma ke kula wale no, ma nā mea like ole, nā ʻaoʻao like ole.
Nā ʻuihana ea.
O iai o ka ʻōlelo Hawaiʻi ka ʻōlelo a ka lāhui o iwi o Hawaiʻi nei, a o iai I nā e pau ana ka ʻōlelo Hawaiʻi ma Hawaiʻi nei, a ohe wahi ea e hele ai e a o ai I a ʻōlelo.
Now therefore be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the State of Hawaii that this body encourages and supports the survival of the Hawaiian language during...
I moi uhane no mākou I ko akihiko. Pehea, hiki pā ke holomua, I ko mana o mākou ka poʻe puʻiwa loa, I ka ike ana I ka holomua ki a hana.
Aia no I ka ohana ke ia I kaika. Ke ia mana o ka hoʻola I ka ʻōlelo. Aia no I ka ohana.
Ko iri o mako ia lako ke ia kula, na e komo mai pono kako a pau e liro ohana. Ko kua, hana hoʻokahi, lokahi e. Haole ke ia kula, komo mai oia, alo e iki ana, kula ke ia di ke kaku me ka ohana.
Ke kahi poʻe hui kau I ka noʻono. O ka punana leo, no ka poʻe liʻiliʻi wa nā poʻe kamaliʻi wale no. ʻAʻole. O ka punana leo, ka paepae o ka punana leo, aia maʻo loa aku.
A laila, o ka nuʻukia o ka punana leo, o ia no e ola ka ʻōlelo Hawaiʻi. Aka he pono ana e no I ka mana o ka hu'olelo ola. Na ka mea o keola. A ole hiki keola ina e malama ia ka olelo ma ke kahi wahi wale no. Pono e loa kona wahi ma ke kula, ma waho o ke kula, ma na ohana, ma kahi hana a peolana.
Make ia ka olelo Hawaii e ola ma nā ku'ono a pau o ka ʻaina.
Ua ha'awi ia wau ke ia aloha, ke ia hiki, ke ia mahalo I ka olelo o nā kupuna mai nā kupuna mai. A na'u ke kule ana e ha'awi I ko'u mau hanauna a hanauna o ia no. A e mau ana ka olelo.
Ai hele mai nā hoaloha.
So we had, well, thank you for sharing that video. That was really powerful. This morning's session is on vision, and the question that I want to throw out to you to begin is the big question of why is having this vision important, and also how has the vision that you all developed served as a guiding principle for you as you move forward?
Well, as you saw, the big vision for all of us, not just for us in Hawaii, is Eola Ka'olelo Hawaii, or whatever language, that our language shall live. As it also was expressed in the video, what does live mean? And of course, live for us means not just from the little babies or wherever we will begin to revive our language, but from that point forward goes all the way to when we were told by our grandparents, some of us, or we know that that is, Hawaii is the home of the Hawaiian language, and therefore that was and still is the language of all of Hawaii. And today, of course, times have changed, and lots of our population, about 50% of our ethnic Hawaiian population has moved away, many of them living in Washington State and California, Las Vegas. So maybe we will be starting some programs among our population there as well. So it may not have to always just be right in the heart of our home place. Could be wherever our people are. But of course, we've heard the word normalization as well. Normal, making it normal, meaning that someday to live our Hawaiian language, we wouldn't even know that we would have been extinct or wiped out from the face of this earth, because it'll be so normal. Doesn't everybody speak Hawaiian?
Hi, aloha. I'm a big conceptual thinker usually, so I like big ideas. But vision to me is really important because it's the thing that your collective group can rally around. And it's something that you can hold up above you as something greater to work towards, so that the collective work becomes more important than the single. And I think that's been really, really key for Olelo Hawaii, because we are separated, or I should say, we are joined by waters, and we have our communities are sprawled out across our archipelago, and yet Olelo Hawaii, that whole idea, may the Hawaiian language live, many people, Native Hawaiians and non-Native Hawaiians, students of Hawaiians, elders can rally around because it's an important idea. And it's never over, is it? As soon as you move a little forward, you've got new aspirations to move farther. So vision is really important because it becomes the thing that guides everybody's actions.
Aloha. In one sense, it's a very simple vision that the language lives, and I think we all have that. But I think that maybe something that sometimes is a little bit harder is that it live in the contemporary world, because lots of people in Hawaii were thinking of Hawaiian as it lived in the even pre-contact time, even before there was anything European, and of which, of course, is not going to come back again. That's part of the reason, I think, in that video that we focused on the 1800s, when there were schools in Hawaiian and it was used in the police office, in the post office, and those kinds of places, because our vision is for it to live in contemporary times in Hawaii. And I think that really connects to what Larry said about Hawaiians living outside of Hawaii as well. One of the things that connecting it to a place of Hawaii also means that non-Hawaiians would learn Hawaiian as well, and that Hawaiians would be multilingual. So it's not one of the mistakes or misconceptions that people have of what we were doing is that we didn't want children to speak English, that we didn't want them to learn the immigrant languages like Japanese or Portuguese. But no, we wanted to have that too. And in the 1800s, Hawaiians spoke English and Japanese and Chinese. They spoke lots of languages because those people were around them as well. So again, it has to do with contemporary times, and in a sense, kind of like these small little places in Europe, like maybe some of you have heard of them, like Denmark. Nobody knows Danish but them. I mean, there's only, I think, 3 million. That's a lot for us, but it's tiny in the world. So they can all speak English, and lots of them can speak German and French, and they live in contemporary times but maintain their Danish language. So thinking is that we could have that same kind of a situation.
I'll make this easier and sit over here. So, you know, some things that were reflected in the video and that maybe way in the back, maybe you had a little hard time reading possibly, but in the time that I went over and toured some of the program that you all run, some of the outcomes for the students, and this speaks to, I think, Pila's point that he had just made, which is there's this myth that if we're teaching through our native languages, that somehow our children will be less successful. And one of the things that is an outcome of the first school that you saw reflected in the video that at the kindergarten through 12th grade is that, at least in the last study that I looked at, the graduation rate was around 100% graduation rate of their students out of high school, and over 80% were going on to post-secondary education, were going on to college. And I think to me that's amazing, because when I think about in Alaska, our graduation and completion rates for Alaska Native students out of our schools being only at around 60%, and college preparedness the students not really being ready to go into college even at that point. And I think about how successful it is when you're able to teach through your native language, and that was reflected also in the video, that the students wanted to come to school because they were being able to learn their language about their land and animals and plants and their traditional stories. So it's such an inspiring story of the work that you all accomplished. But one of the questions that comes to my mind is, there had to be challenges along the way as you had this vision and then you decided to set out to try to accomplish this. And I'm for all of us, you know, you heard a little bit of where we're at yesterday, and so you kind of get a sense of some of the dynamics that we're facing. So I'm curious as to what some of those challenges were and how you overcame those challenges that came up.
Okay, I'll start with a few, and, and I'm sure my friends here also have those challenges, and a few that I can recall, and it's over time. Since 1983, since they established, I can use that date. How many years is that? 35 years ago. I will say one challenge was that we were much younger, as you saw in the video. Now I become an elder. Wow. Anyway, back then I was not an elder, and that one of the challenges was to say to our elders, who are still the retainers of the unbroken line of traditional learning of our language, that we know our language. We, at that time, younger people, knew our language, and that we will be speaking that language they are speaking. My grandparents were native speakers of Hawaiian. I grew up hearing Hawaiian. I had to learn how to go back home one day and begin to speak to my grandmother, who was still alive, in Hawaiian, and carry on with them. So just the broader community. That's one little challenge. But that was quickly overcome. Luckily, we had a radio program that we were doing for 16 years, from 1972, that was before 1983, all the way up until 1988. That helped, that where we were interviewing native speakers on the radio, and the people listening in could hear us, young people, second language learners, conducting ourselves in Hawaiian with native speakers. Of course, the native speakers could see and hear us as well. That helped, whatever we can do. But we knew that, we were confident that we knew enough of the language to be fluent enough with it, and we would be doing it justice, and that we needed to move forward. We could not wait till the last of our speakers died. Anyway, that was one little challenge.
I think I'm going to talk from a parent lens, because that challenge starts right at home with your children. And that's the attitudes that your own immediate and extended family have about language. So both my grandparents were native speakers, and of course had experienced much of what many of the elders in this room experienced in school. So they had, it was very interesting. Amongst themselves, they only spoke Hawaiian and had such a joy when they spoke. I mean, a joy, a happiness you could see in their whole being when they spoke with each other in Hawaiian. But of course, to their children, they spoke English. To their grandchildren, unless they got mad, it was English. So the first time I brought my daughter to see my grandparents, and of course I was only speaking Hawaiian, and there were only a handful of us, I think, of second language speakers. I want to say there were probably about half a dozen of us that I knew of in the state, outside of the community of Ni'ihau. And 2 of the 6 are sitting on this stage and then living on different islands. And my grandfather said to me, she's going to be crazy by the time she's 5 if you speak to her in Hawaiian, because she's going to be confused. But what I learned, the challenge was feeling like I was disappointing my grandparents. But watching them go through a healing process and by the second day, my grandfather said, "You're doing the right thing. Keep speaking Hawaiian to her." And he would start to speak to Kanani in Hawaiian. And that first one was a big challenge because they were very important people in my lives. And the healing process has to happen in order for you to even be even more open to utilizing Hawaiian in its full experience. So then comes vocabulary. Now, computers were just coming in at that time. I mean, what do you call this and that and the other thing? Food items that they get at the store. I mean, these were things that weren't in our dictionary. So we had to learn to kind of create words. And I think that's an issue that everybody has. We were talking yesterday about the word for geek and the word for a nerd. And we have a word for the geek, and we have a word for a nerd, so we've gotten good enough we can figure out words pretty quick. But the real challenges, because if what you want to do is create a full Hawaiian language environment, you have to deal with your family and that support that started kind of nervous because they had to change their experience and change their frame of thinking. I had some of the families said, when you're in front of us, you need to speak English because I can't understand it. Well, we have to change that thinking because when I do that, I send a subliminal message, this is my thinking, that English is more powerful and better than Hawaiian. And as a speaker of Hawaiian to my children, that's not a message I want them to know. I want them to know the power of Olelo Hawaii because English is every place else. But I want them to know in our home that that's its priority. And so I had to help my family change their mindset about that. And I think that's common for a lot of experienced families because English is so powerful. And that's probably the biggest challenge. How do we deal with that in the real contemporary society where our children feel proud to speak their native language?
In terms of raising children speaking Hawaiian at home, my wife and I did the same thing. We faced some of the same challenges that Keiki already mentioned, so I don't think I'll bring that up again. But the next stage that happened, and you saw there where we had the language nest, and our children went there, and I think we were very fortunate because it was a private entity. But that creates challenges. How do you fund it? How do you take care of the teachers? How do you have a place? How do you run kind of like a little business? And also we just move forward with find a place, find teachers, find children, and move forward the best you can. So our goal was initially just to recreate the living with a family together speaking Hawaiian, where we would only speak Hawaiian in that entity. So that was our first challenge. Once we got that going, we had the bigger challenge of where do we go from preschool? And so a decision was made that we would go into the public school system rather than do a private school. So that was a big decision. But our families that are interested in Hawaiian language tended to be from lower socioeconomic strata. They couldn't really afford to support a private school. It was hard enough just even supporting at the preschool level. So we went into the public schools. The big challenge was it was illegal to use the Hawaiian language, even in the private thing. So we were kind of bucking the law when we started our preschool. But even when we changed the law, the state didn't open any schooling through Hawaiian. So it was now legal, but it wasn't the law was not being implemented. So in Hilo, where we were, and there were only two schools at the time, one in Honolulu where Keiki was and one in Hilo, we had a little bit more space being on a island with more space, and we had an extra room, so we kept the children back in kindergarten and refused to declare it a private kindergarten and claimed it was a public kindergarten we were providing public education for the state. But in Honolulu, what happened was Keiki's daughter Kanani was sent to bilingual ed to SLEP, what does SLEP mean? second language English proficiency. And in Hawaii, we didn't have that. Native Hawaiians didn't go to that. It was associated with immigrant children. So Keiki's daughter was put in with a Filipino speaking, Ilocano Filipino speaker teacher to help her learn English. And in Hilo, we boycotted and we just created our own kindergarten. And so we could have been arrested for not going to school and not making a private school. So then the next year, the legislature who had passed a law making it legal passed a resolution trying to get the State Department of Education to open a combined K-1 class for our children. And it passed, and then the senator was our advocate, went to his friend in the Department of Education, the superintendent, and got him to agree to have an agreement with our Punana Leo nonprofit and our parents that they would allow us to have a classroom in a school in Honolulu and in Hilo. So Kanani was taken out of the SLEP class, where she had been all year, wasn't she there all year? And allowed to go into this K-1 class with the other Punana children who moved up. And then in Hilo, similarly, we were given a kind of like a basement room that we had to clean up and get going. But the challenge was just making the room ready, finding the teacher, and I'm not going to go into the amazing feat of finding teachers, but the big thing was kind of related to what Yvonne talked about, was that we were told by the department, not the superintendent, but the lower level person, was that Hawaiian was an oral language and there shall be no teaching of reading and writing to these children in Hawaiian, which we had already started in the preschool. We were also told that we would only have 1 year, and even though they were instructed in Hawaiian, they would be judged whether they could speak English, and would be tested whether they could speak English. And if they couldn't speak English, we couldn't continue our program. So there was a big pressure to try to separate academics from the language and put English up. So we had to go through some major political efforts to refuse testing and go to the board and all of that stuff. But the whole challenge was to overcome that idea that English is the main thing of the world and that academics is only in English. And so over the years, we had to keep on dealing with that, but we eventually overcame that.
Great. So your closing comment actually pushes into the next question that I that I had thought of, which is, I think that, again, thinking back on where we're at within Alaska right now with many of our languages, I think many of us are in this place of asking this question of what's it going to take for us to ignite something bigger under our language, and a piece of that is what you pointed to of it was alluded to in the video as well, which is as you had these young children coming out of the Punana Leo and then going into K-12, you needed to produce teachers who, and so my question is, was it certified teachers you were producing? Did you have already a full language proficiency training program at the university to prepare people to speak the language already as well as become certified? And how did you navigate that transition? Because I think that's a question among us here.
Yeah, so in what happened, I know we were fortunate, as we said, we started with 2 preschool sites, one on Oahu, Honolulu, the big capital city, and one in Hilo on the island of Hawaii. So these 2 sites, and on Oahu or in Honolulu, we're fortunate to have a parent who was a licensed English to teach in the public school system, but she was a parent and also a fluent speaker, a second language fluent speaker of Hawaiian. So we started with her. In Hilo, they didn't have that kind of a person, but we recruited one of our graduates from our Hawaiian language majors. She was in a bank in Oregon, and we got her to come back to Hilo. Keokaha, this little school over there, as Pilo was saying, the janitor's room underneath the stairs. And as you know, this is being put in public school. So this little class, a little Hawaiian immersion class or medium Hawaiian class in the English school. So you're a little drop in a big bucket there of all English. That was another big challenge. But then that's how, just to start this discussion on, that this started. But we knew, of course, this getting more teachers ready for the next year and the next year and the next year is going to be our challenge. And the way we had to face that was, Pilo said, of course, the DO is saying this program is going to go down the drain, so we'll go and hire a linguist and somebody who can speak Hawaiian. And there was a third person, maybe, I know two of them on this DOE evaluation team. However, the evaluation team after the first year said, this is a wonderful program. They are learning in Hawaiian. English will come later. We'll worry about that. This is the report generally. Also, the parent involvement is astonishing. We must continue it for the second year. And I think it went on that way for 3 years before the DOE declared this program an official program of the public school system of the state of Hawaii. Now, with the teachers, we didn't have any certification program until 2002. So we start in 1987. How many years is that? And what we're doing in the meantime is the connection that Pila and I, eventually Keiki got involved at the university level. Pila's wife, Kawanoi, you saw her on the video, was also a teacher in Hawaiian language at the Hilo campus, the University of Hawaii at Hilo. And we were developing university degrees. We didn't have a degree in a bachelor's in Hawaiian language. We didn't have graduate degrees in Hawaiian language. And we were developing and teaching fluent second language students who were, of course, university age. And they, of course, were among them, not all of them, but at least enough of them were very much interested in getting involved with becoming teachers of this program. Not that we had a license program until 2002. So in the meantime, the principals of these two schools, and I forgot where the growth started. Was it on Maui, the second school, and then came over to Kauai and different places? But we had this potential, this little group coming out of because of the university connection through our Hawaiian language program, teaching, personal involvement, doing that. Now Kiki can talk more about the development of the official licensing, and that came later. Well, she's saying 1998, and then we went to a couple years of getting this program up to par so that we could pass the Board of Education's requirements.
I wonder if I could mention something else. You know, because it's very common that people talk about the challenges, but we need to remember too that there are huge opportunities that come out of the challenges. You know, our children have extended families that they still have very tight, close-knit relationships with until today. I think the quality of their relationships as they built our numbers in Olelo, Hawaii, and the dynamics of parents. I've seen parents like myself go from I was already a teacher, but there are many that have come into our teacher ed program that were parents. They didn't even think they were going to college. But because their children were there and their love for their children and their great desire to learn Olelo, they went to school. They wanted to help their children with their homework. They learned Hawaiian better. They started taking other courses. Before you knew it, they had a degree. Now, they're in a seat that they can proactively do something they didn't even fathom the possibility of doing. So sometimes, out of the challenge comes great opportunities and blessings. And I don't think we think about those because the work is hard. But even in the hard work, there is a lot of joy in that. I think the connections that we have are different to me than I see in families coming in now. And I think because we had something that in Hawaiian we call that mina mina, which means like a regret. It's a sadness that you have because you know that something can die. And then you move 20 years forward and it's less at a risk, so it feels. So sometimes you work less harder and you can become complacent about that. But the quality and the success of our children, I really believe, is really due to us pulling together as a collective, working towards that vision that we held at a very high place. So we all moved in places using our strengths of where we had to be to help assist lift that vision. I think that's a huge opportunity that we can all learn from. Just thought I'd mention that.
I think it's important for people to understand that we move through stages, so that everything didn't happen all at once for us. And in particular regarding teachers, when we started with our language nest, which enrolls 3- and 4-year-olds together, which I think is another important thing because the younger kids learn from the older kids as they move through. It's not like your standard one-age classroom. So because if you start with a single age, then you have to start from scratch every year. But if you mix them, the older kids teach the younger kids. So that's important. But when we started that language nest, the teachers that we chose were the most fluent older people who could really use the language. They were the teachers in the sense, but the word teacher is not really appropriate. They were like it was modeled on a family that only spoke the language as in their youth. So it wasn't set up to technically teach anything. It was set up to reproduce the environment as best as possible of the family life in the earlier times. So we insisted that we would have those people as the teachers that lead the person who was really in charge of everything inside the classroom, not necessarily the administrator, but the person who was honored as the leader of what was going on. And our goal was, again, that just to reproduce what they had experienced. However, because it was from 7:30 was the earliest, right, to 5 o'clock, so that working parents could bring their children, 7:30 to 5 o'clock, 5 days a week, 11 months of the year. It was a total day thing. So eventually we had to come up with like a schedule, like an opening in the morning circle and things that sort of followed preschools, but that was just to perform a structure of the day. So I wanted to really emphasize that the teachers were the older native speakers, but we also had second language speakers there as well. And later on, Kawanoi came in to help administer it, and she's a second language speaker. The whole problem that we had with native speakers is that they wanted to speak English to the children. They were not used to speaking Hawaiian to the children, but the second language speakers were very intent on having them speak Hawaiian, and that's how we had gotten better in speaking Hawaiian, was interacting with the elders, practicing Hawaiian. We learned it very formally and grammatically, but then we practiced with the elders, and that's how we got better. And the only way to get better was to make sure they spoke to you in Hawaiian. So you have to keep on saying, uncle speak Hawaiian, uncle, auntie speak Hawaiian. So that was very important in our language nest to get people back into the idea of speaking the language at all times, never speaking English. So we had to change the law to allow that to be. Initially, we were illegal. They were not supposed to be teaching. They didn't have certification for preschool education. And we had to change the law, and we were actually breaking the law while we started. It took us 3 years to change the law. Then, going into the public school system where we never changed the law about certification there. But the state was, first of all, there's a teacher shortage, and there's always been a teacher shortage, and they've always hired uncertified, people who didn't quite meet the certification in our state. So in Hilo, when our kindergarten K1 teacher was certified to teach foreign language in secondary education. She was not an elementary teacher. She was not even a standard content teacher. She was a foreign language teacher. And the foreign language that she had gotten certified to teach was Hawaiian. And there were not enough jobs to teach Hawaiian in high school. It had started then, but there were only so many high schools and so many students who would take it. So that's why she left Hawaii and found a job in a bank in Oregon. So we had some people that had certification and had studied some Hawaiian in college. So our big advantage, and it's clear from what you said yesterday, but you only have 4 or 5 people who teach native Alaskan languages in the university. We had already had this cultural renaissance in Hawaii where lots of students were signing up for Hawaiian in college and forcing the university to move it up to 4 years. And then we were also strengthening the way of learning Hawaiian by bringing in more grammar and connecting the students to the elders. So Larry was the one who really connected us to the elders through his radio program and camping trips, which you call immersion. We don't call that immersion, we call that camping trips. So we did camping trips with our, immersion to us is running the all-day schooling in a language for little children. So, but we did camping trips where we only speak the language for a weekend or something with elders that Larry took us on, and that really helped us. And then the radio program that we'd meet with the elders, then we had parties with the elders. And then once we got into the schools, we actually had a live-in in the university where the teachers and parents and university people would all come together, live together in the dorm, and work on curriculum materials for the schools taught all speaking only in Hawaiian. So, but I think our big advantage was that we were able to produce second language speakers combining classes at the university and working with elders outside of the university. Because the university classes are not enough, even 4 years. It's really difficult to produce teachers just using a university few hours a week.
I want to take a second to soak in everything you just shared, all of you. So one thing that I think, Keiki, you alluded to in your this latest round of comment was some of the impact on individuals. You mentioned adults who didn't know how to speak their language, but because their kids were going through the Panana Leo, they felt inspired or challenged to, I know you don't like that word, they felt the opportunity, the drive to go back to school even as adults. And I got the opportunity to speak to some of those teachers who had shared with me that one of the stories was they said that as parents, they sat around in a living room one day and they realized that there was this need for teachers, and they said, well, what are you good at? What are you good at? And the one said, well, I'm kind of good at math. And she's like, all right, you're going to become our math teacher. And so all these parents decided to go back to college to become fluent in their language and then to also specialize in an area. And some of those teachers now have been at the Nawahi school for, I think some of them said like 30 years now or something like that. And so what I'm sharing is that I think after visiting there, I realized, not only in Hawaii, but then also in Aotearoa, that people had to change their life. They had to completely redirect the course of their life in order to make this happen. And so I think from that framework, can you share a little bit about, and I even heard the elders had to change some of their life and their focus too to make it happen. And so it wasn't only the parents or the kids or the teachers and administrators, but also elders. And so can you share a little bit about what type of life-changing decisions were a part of what happened? And then also, if you want to go a little bit more into what impact and commitment that needed to happen from the family and how that impacted the community as well.
Yeah, of course, it is life-changing. It has to be life-changing. I mean, if we're talking about that vision that our languages will live, and it's not living now, I mean, we have to change. We have to live. And if we live, we're living with our language, and therefore, we're attaining our goals. And that means a big transformation from where we are now. And I'd like to just say that the young babies, because we have infant toddlers at one point we were taking babies from 6 weeks old at certain sites, because that takes a lot of personnel and space and things. But anyway, we have a couple programs now with infant toddler. I think it's 9 months now. And so anyway, the children are the warriors. They don't know that maybe too much when they're only 9 months old. But as they're growing, they are affecting everyone in their family, of course, immediately, and then the extended family, and then the neighborhood, and then the community, as they see this progress. Because we want to be sure with every stone we put in place, it connects to a advancement, that it is a small little success, small little ones. Sometimes we have failures, but we have to pick up and move ahead, never go backwards. Make sure we're moving forward. I think the success that generally, for us, we should be just happy that we're speaking our language again. But no, it has to go beyond. So we've selected to do it within the framework of what one point in all our histories, yours too probably, where we could not use our language as the medium of education, because we're all dummies, so why should we be using our own language? Come out of the Stone Age in Hawaii. But that's not the case, of course. And so the standards in education is you have to succeed in English, the mainstream, wherever. If we were in Germany, it would be German. But in the United States, it's English. And our own language as well. We have our own challenges among our own people. And then we have this other challenge, and we have to succeed at both in the parameters of formal education. And the youth, the children, we call them students in school, are what affects this change. And then pretty soon it starts to extend, of course, into all different areas. And I'm losing track of the thought of that you had just said. So could you repeat that, please?
Yeah, I was just impressed, and it really sunk in for me in my most recent trip to the Hawaiian language study program, that everybody involved had to change their life in order to make this happen. And what's the significance of those life changes that were made, and then the impact on the family and community?
Yeah, and so as I said, it has after 35 years or so, we're celebrating 30 years in the public school system this year. This 2 years now getting into, yeah, and we're finally seeing regeneration. In other words, like Keiki's family, she can talk about that, of course. and not only her family, other families, grandchildren are now the native speakers because her own children went through the whole program, and they happen to have spouses that either are speakers or are totally in support and begin to learn to speak it themselves and use it at home. So now it's coming out of the home as well. And then it's affecting a lot of places in our community. So, you know, maybe some of you heard of some of our using Hawaiian in the court system, even though we can understand English perfectly, but we want to use our own language, or using Hawaiian as it should be an automatic. Right now, we're still challenged with where we can start new programs. There's one island that's populated in Hawaii, Lanai, a smaller population, still doesn't have Hawaiian immersion, Hawaiian medium education available, and parents are saying, we want it. Well, how come we? And of course, it comes back to teachers again. But to have that, reach that kind of point where they're demanding it, where at the beginning we were scrambling around trying to find 7 students or 7 babies just to start a little preschool.
Well, the change is the goal. The change is the goal. And so, did you folks have a chance to read this little handout? You know, after 35 years with the Punana Leo and 30 years in public education, and this year is the 40th year of Olelo Hawaii as our state official language. So this was put together actually for our legislature, because you always got to advocate and educate. And you got to plant the seeds, water them, you got to plant them again, you got to water them, and you got to fertilize them, and they start to grow. And I think we're seeing more and more healthy attitudes about language, that you cannot see the depth and the wisdom of your culture unless you learn the language, because it's held in the language. You know, to be able to see your culture through the language, people are understanding that more, and I think it's all the years of the broken record saying the same thing. But the challenge is the goal, and it shifts families. We at the top it says focus on, it says about Hawaiian, to develop an appreciation of Hawaiian, and that's kind of what we do with tourists, you know. Hele mai, komo mai, mahalo, and they have an appreciation that they're somewhat respectful. And there is not a place that an island you can go to that doesn't have Hawaiian on a street name, or somebody's child's name is in Hawaiian. So for the local public, they all have to deal with Hawaiian at some level, even if it's at this about level. And then the of level is what you do taking language as a formal language. And the good thing is that we need to have more of this in many different ways, because not everybody learns by grammar structure. Some people need other kinds of ways to make connections for language. And as embarrassing it can be for parents, the truth is that children learn language way faster than adults do. Our brain cells are disappearing by the second. It's just a biological thing. But our problem was at the university is the university wasn't creating enough speakers, fluent speakers, to sustain the language. So the through method is where we've had the most success, and that's about a total language, full communication. So the challenge is the goal, and each one of those things have to have some progress and work. So I don't think it's a choice of one or the other, but I definitely, let me say that again. It's not a choice that you can only choose one, because not everybody are at the same plane, and some only want to appreciate Hawaiian. But for those of us that want to see our language live on, we have to be able to communicate with our language as our living life language. And in order to do that, we have to make the change, and whatever that is, and as that's being done, we're creating new communities of speakers. And I think that's really, really powerful, and our numbers have gotten to a point now that if you looked at the back, at the very bottom, did you notice the numbers there in 1983? Those were our statistics in 1983. We had under 50 children. My memory was 32. That was my memory, because I remember my good friend coming home. She's a Niho girl, and she said, I had this meeting, and they counted the number of speakers under the age of 18, and there are only 32. Our language almost mucky. And only a couple thousand speakers, native speakers. Well, let's forward 30 years later, we've got the opposite polar numbers. So the numbers of native speakers we now have children enrolled in schools. So we have graduates, and these are kindergarten through 12th grade that I'm talking about. So this doesn't, and preschool. So preschool to 12, it doesn't include community colleges, university, graduates, other speakers, and you can find some of those numbers right at the bottom here. So now we have some really interesting challenges now that we are halfway through our 3-generation revitalization. We're talking more now about renormalization because we're seeing possibilities. We've been and we're still going to be revitalizing, but we can talk about it being more normal because in several circles, it is a norm language. And we're seeing that break out to more places. And even businesses are experimenting with that. Hawaiian, the week of Merry Monarch. How many of you have been to Merry Monarch, our big hula festival? Hawaiian Airlines from Honolulu to Hilo did their whole service in Hawaiian. And we have graduates and students that are in places of business, and we want language there in the business because we have to strengthen the home, we have to strengthen the school, but we also have to strengthen more access in more circles in our community. And I think that's part of our big challenge we're working on now. I think we've had some headway. I don't think it'll ever end until everybody's speaking Hawaiian. And we should all say that about our languages in our own communities. And I think that challenge is worth thinking about and working hard and not losing focus of that bigger vision.
Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is try and take if I remember, it's the life-changing thing, and try to go back a bit. But maybe before I do, this thing about, of, and through is a really important thing to understand. So you can learn about a language. For instance, Hawaiian is a Polynesian language. It has an alphabet of 13 letters. This is how to count to 10. And these are some vocabulary words. And these are some of the things that shows the concepts that are the word aloha and what does it mean and things like that. I think that's very important. And a lot of times people say they want students to appreciate and value the Hawaiian language as a goal, which is great, but the language is not going to survive through that type of a thing. And you can teach that to everybody, and that's part of the normalization process. And then of means that you seek to develop some level of fluency. And it takes a lot of work, as I'm sure those of you who are trying to learn your languages as second language, it's really difficult to get very far in learning of a language. And in the United States, people are used to teaching foreign languages, and their goal of fluency is enough for you to go to the foreign country and buy from a restaurant, get your food or something like that. It's not to raise your family in the language and do your whole life in it. So they don't really teach languages in the United States to the level of fluency that we really need to revitalize a language. So this is one of the challenges that we're talking about with university programs. Later on, we're going to hear about adult immersion. How do you get a really high level of fluency? So that's of. And most people don't understand what that involves. So they have only a very limited level, and people never get very far with that unless you understand. You have to go really high. Through means that you conduct your life through a language, and the easiest place to do it is a school because you have those children captured. The law says they must leave the home and be placed in a fence from the age of 5 until 17. So they are there already in this captured place that has a fence around it where you could if you can control that, the language there, you could change the language, which is what they did to all of the languages of indigenous languages of the United States. For some, it was even more severe. They put them in a boarding school where they captured them for 24 hours a day, and even beyond I heard some kids didn't even go home after a year in some places. In Hawaii, it was not usually that severe. It was just for the day, but that was enough to get rid of the language. So it's also an opportunity for us to use that same captured space and say that space shall be a Hawaiian language space. Now, again, I mentioned about the fear that they would not learn English, but we now have the internet, TV, everything like that, even the most remote place cannot avoid that. Plus, you have people coming in and out who speak the language, and that's why Danes can speak English so well too, because they got that same thing. So anyway, that was my first point. But how do you get to the point of high fluency in a language that has not really been taught before at much of a level? And then how do you maintain the language in that set-off place? So these are some of the life-changing things that you have to do, is you have to go against some of your own values. So example of respect for elders. So, and Keiki mentioned this, and Larry did too, about your parents and grandparents might say, this is not a good thing that you're doing. So then you have to go against their advice and do something that they feel is harmful to your child. And this is your own parents and grandparents who you greatly love. And so to give an example from my own family, we have two. I'm Haole or white, and my wife is Hawaiian. So in my family, we only went around Christmas or sometimes in the summer, visit for a short time. But my father would say, like, can you please speak English? We can't understand. And both my wife and I spoke Hawaiian, and our children spoke Hawaiian. Most families, it was not that intense. They didn't even know English. But as they got older, my father would keep on saying, speak English, we can't understand it. So we had to make a decision. So we said, yes, Dad, we'll do that. We're going to try and try. But then among ourselves in Hawaiian, which he couldn't understand, we would say, okay, now just do it for a few seconds and then go back into Hawaiian and then say, I'm sorry, I just couldn't remember. I couldn't. So it was going against how to be a respectful person. And the same thing with the older people. When trying to learn Hawaiian from them, you had to constantly tell them, speak Hawaiian, like you were in charge of them rather than them being in charge of you. So that was a life-changing thing of how do you be respectful and yet try to control the negative history of the world or whatever. So that also had to do with the Department of Education, the state protest in refusing to go along with what they were saying you're supposed to do. So it required a certain sense of hard-headedness and refusal to go along with what authorities who you usually respect said you're supposed to do. But try to do it in a sit-in and soft way where you could still be friendly to people. To me, that was a really big lesson that we had to go through.
So I acknowledge that it's 10 o'clock now, but we got a little bit of a later start, so I want to provide for a last comment from each of you, really around whatever you want to share, but I'll throw out the context anyhow, which is, you know, given your experience of having gone through everything you've gone through to produce some of the outcomes that you've been able to produce, and seeing where we're at within Alaska, and given that we have 20 Alaska Native languages, which is one of a challenge for us, and it's an opportunity and a really beautiful thing that we have that kind of language diversity in Alaska. What type of thoughts, advice come to your mind that you think would be helpful for us to hear at this time, at this stage that we're at in trying to really ignite the work under our language? So just a closing thought, encouragement it could be even.
well, try to be encouraging. Yeah. That's hard sometimes because, yeah, but I guess, well, you just have to have determination. You have to be totally committed. And don't let any obstacles get in your way, although they will be there. And the main, to me anyway, is instead of trying to, policy, setting up laws and things to break, to set up, clearing the way is maybe not the approach anyway that I think we took. We went into action and did what we needed to do, and then showed the law or the policy or the people who make the laws that no, that's not going to fit us. So you're going to have to change. Not we're going to change. You're going to have to set up things to accommodate what we're doing, because what we're doing, we're showing you that we're creating milestones, and please recognize that. And if they do, and they did, because you have to prove it, it's work, and then they'll set up something to put you on probationary basis maybe, which is fine, and then make us work a little harder, and then they'll make it official. Then we move to the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and that's how I experienced it, we experienced it back home.
I have a thought about this, because I recognize how challenging that is just to get your head around. Whose language do you save? Is that a question? Whose language do you save? As many as you can. I mean, that's all of our responsibility as keepers of our language, to save as many as we can. I mean, all the languages thrived in your communities at one time. So the challenge is to figure out what you're going to do with intent. That's the first. The second is to figure out how you rally to collectively support each other. You know, we sort of supported each other from island to island. We really only have one distinct Hawaiian language. It has some dialect, but nothing like you do. But it doesn't mean that you choose one over the other. I think you focus where your strengths are, and you stick to it. You figure out what your collective vision is, and you work towards that. And you pull whatever those strengths are. I mean, we had fathers that were really good at cooking, so they did the fundraising. You know, and the mothers, our early movement was mostly mothers. And it makes sense, because mothers spend a lot of time with their children. So in terms of knowledge of the movement, you saw a lot of mothers in the early years, but we see mothers and fathers now, coming through. And more equally, as fathers are taking more role with the raising of children. I think that's wonderful. So I think I want to say this again, because I think this is really important. Every language deserves to be saved as long as you have the intent and the will to do it. And the only way all of your languages have a chance is if you find ways to support each other through the issues, like the policies. It's an official language of the state, like Hawaiian. You do have rights, but now you've got to proactively make your rights known. And sometimes people are going to think you're crazy, like, why speak Hawaiian in court? We know that person can speak English, because part of moving the meter to renormalization is having it every place. And some of those things that seem silly or combative have its necessity. So I think that's what I'd like to leave with you.
In talking about just my last comment, I forgot to mention what the difficulties that the elders had to go through. So I want to connect it to some advantages that you have. So one of the big things that moved our Hawaiian language effort forward, and I believe that if we didn't have this, we would not have gotten anywhere, is in 1953 there was published a new, really good Hawaiian language dictionary. And the lady this Hawaiian woman who was instrumental in this, didn't even want to go on the radio program because there were so many people who had criticized her about publicizing the Hawaiian words, etc. And the older people had said, you are, and there's this Hawaiian thing about placing the bones of our ancestors in the sun. Okay, so she was really criticized for that, but she said she wanted to have the language and the culture available for the descendants in the future, that they would know about their own people. So the people who also came and spoke Hawaiian with us on the radio program, who went on camping trips, were criticized by older people for, and why are you, they can't speak Hawaiian, they're terrible, and you're going with them, or they would say, they're not pure Hawaiian, or they would go into all of this thing. And so those elders were criticized for becoming involved in the revitalization of the Hawaiian language. So that's one thing. I think you have an advantage in that you seem to have had elders that went and recorded a lot of things and created these really fancy dictionaries. Our dictionary is nothing like the kind of dictionaries I've seen for some of these languages. I think I saw the Atna dictionary, some of these Eskimo dictionaries, so detailed in things. We have a lot of things that are missing in our dictionary because they were established primarily to translate Hawaiian, which was written into English. It's more of like a translation from Hawaiian to English dictionary, rather than showing you how to learn the language exactly to the super cue and speak it properly. So I think you have these really good dictionaries and documentation. You have videos of elders speaking where it shows their facial expression and their how they use their hands and everything, which are really, really great. So in that sense, your elders really did work with people to document the language, that you have better access. You also have, even though you are small, you do have more native speakers around for most of your languages than Hawaiian. Now, we say 50 here, and I'm trying to think of who those 50 might be. They're really not even 20, or the Ni'ihau community, yes, but even them, they're disappearing very quickly because they have poor health, and there were only 200 of them in the first place. But like on our own island of Hawaii, who's there, Larry? Okay, Mrs. Gidoy and Mr. Kealoha, and the generation above them would be very critical of them about how they spoke Hawaiian. I'm not trying to say this, but there's certain levels of among them as well, and the younger ones, like them, were criticized highly by they say they speak Hawaiian, or kind of, that sort of thing. So we hardly have anybody who speaks at the language level that we're trying to teach left at all in Hawaii. So you have that big advantage. I also want to say something about which language do you pick. I would say you pick your own. Okay, so if you got 3 people who say, all right, we pick our own language, and they're a small language, and then you have a big language and nobody picks to work on it, the little guy is the one who's going to move forward. So I think that it's up to the people in the community. And I would like to leave one weird thing with you. As my own experience is, as you can see, I'm not Hawaiian, but I came to identify with the Hawaiian language because I was 10 years old and I moved away from Hawaii to Europe. And the people there said, what language do they speak in Hawaii? And I go, well, there's a Hawaiian language. But I don't know it. And then I started thinking, why don't I know it? And I was starting to learn these other languages. And so language learning became pretty good for me. And I was able to use that to learn Hawaiian later. So I would say maybe you don't have such a great high school program in your language, but maybe you can figure out, your tribe can send them to go to school in Germany or in Japan or whatever and really learn those languages. And they come back and they're a really good language learner. And then they'll say, how come I never learned my own? How come those people over there are all speaking their language and I can't? So that kid, you'll make their mind go. And even Larry had a similar experience. He went to Germany in the army, and lots of us had those who are involved in the language were actually taken away from the community and then thought about it. So I would say, you want your kid to learn in Yupiak, send them to China. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm not sure that was going to be.
Crazy thing.
So, so I would like to invite Salaktuna up to help me. We wanted to present a couple gifts to each of you. And we're really thankful that you gave so much time to us here this whole week. And so we wanted to present each of you with a necklace. And I'll have Salaktuna put that on your neck. So this is one for Larry. We really want to acknowledge and honor all that you gifted to us here. And this is one for Pila, or for Kiki, yeah. And then one for Pila. So let's give them all a round of applause. Thank them so much for everything that they contribute to us today. Mahalo.
Just a couple of more housekeeping announcements before lunch, or before the first breakout, sorry. You can tell where my stomach is at. This was turned into the information desk. I'll bring it back to the information desk again. So if you're the owner of, I think it's an eyeglass case, you'll find it at the information desk. There will be freshly printed copies of the changes and the breakouts at your tables at lunchtime. So this morning you were walking through and making changes. We've got someone who's printing fresh inserts for this. So be rest assured that you'll have the good changes at lunchtime so that you can make the right choice for the afternoon breakouts and beyond. We had a request, and it was a very appropriate request, that we change one of the Airlink shuttle buses to an elder mobility issue shuttle. So the smaller shuttle is now a shuttle that will take elders and their escorts and anyone with mobility issues back to the Wedgwood. And that smaller shuttle, it's again for elders and people with mobility issues only, will then make drops at the different buildings on the Wedgwood Resort property. We request that everyone else save that bus for the people and the elders that really need it, and take the larger bus and then walk from the large main building to your hotel room. We do have another piece that we've added on to the Institute through special request by many people here. We are going to be offering, KUAC is offering a sound room for people, for elders and people who want to talk in their first and indigenous language, or people who want to talk about the meaning of the Institute, to come and do interviews and just talk in the sound room on the KUAC, in the KUAC sound rooms. So team facilitators, if you have an elder that you want to make sure you capture some of their stories during the Institute, this is a good time to take advantage of that opportunity. And what you need to do is let the information desk know that you want to sign up for an up to 1 hour slot for an elder from your team to share stories and talk in our indigenous languages, so that we have that captured. We have 3 1 hour slots today, 3 1 hour slots tomorrow. They're all in the afternoon, so team facilitators, keep that in mind, because some of you already have plans. But we wanted to make that opportunity available for our different languages. The information desk will then refer you to our public information officer, Leona Long, and Leona will help the elder and maybe an escort find the KUAC sound room. so that we can help language teams take advantage of this opportunity. So again, if you want to have stories captured, let the information desk know. They'll reach out to Leona, and then we'll get this squared away for you. And that's it. We're headed out to our first breakouts. No changes to the first breakout schedules. So you should be able to make appropriate choices there. We'll see you again at lunchtime.